Time for ACC Central, presented by College Baseball Central. Hosted by Monty Taylor, Micah Butel, and Nick Dioli.
This is episode 6 of 16. Still no Nick Dioli. He's still, doing things that are, cooler than us, I guess, but not cooler than talking baseball. Micah is back, though. Micah, my favorite co-host. Sorry, Nick. I mean,
do Nick dirty.
Nick doesn't qualify. He doesn't have enough plate appearances. Micah, how are you doing today?
Good. Sorry, I'm not wearing a hat because I had to make a modification to my hat for the day. I just wanted everyone to know the 2025 College World Series champions.
Oh, I love it.
Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. So, shout out, by the way, Georgia Tech, to the sweetest shirt I own, the Mojack shirt. Love that. But, dude, Georgia Tech baseball, we get to talk them today. Great.
Yeah,
day.
Absolutely. And
day.
A big reason why I wanted to do the top 25 show a couple weeks ago on the College Baseball Central podcast was I wanted to talk about Georgia Tech because we got them
ranked them because they're coming. The buzz is coming.
Let's see if I got the right one here. Yes, I did. Okay, Georgia Tech. There it is. 24. But yeah, no, we're really excited about it. Micah had a little bit of trouble figuring out what he was going to wear for this podcast because he has a ton of options. You can see he's got the Georgia Tech jersey in the background. We are very high on this team. I guess we should start first with our departures, as we always do. They do lose some important guys. We know we love Mike Bichetti. Cam Jones was an absolute stud. Obviously, 2 players in one with the two-way status. Ben King, obviously a friend of the program. Matthew Ellis, Trey Younger. Trey Younger departs the team as a player, but I do believe he's on staff as a graduate assistant. So that's good. But I'm excited about this, but they lose a couple of key pieces.
Yeah, obviously there's some tough ones, right? I mean, at least from our side, right, Monty? At least we get to still cover Ryan Jaros. Like that's good, right? But obviously for Georgia Tech purposes, tough to see him go to NC State. Aiden Vinatieri is probably the biggest loss I think you have here with him losing and going to Bama. Losing Matthew Ellis is tough because I think he really provided, especially early on, it kind of felt like Georgia Tech was struggling a little bit offensively. He was kind of a key piece, his leadership there as well. But, I mean, overall, obviously Peyton Green, tough loss, but I don't think this team can't I still feel pretty good about what's coming back. I mean, it's not like, because last year, right, one of the last 4 teams, and, you lose some of these names, and you're like, this team's probably on the outside looking in 2025, and I'll say it, Monty. I think the 2025 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are better than the 2024 team.
I agree. I really like this Georgia Tech team. You bring in some of these newcomers that we got up on the screen, and I for some reason missed the position there for Ryan Johnson at the bottom. He is a pitcher, but look at these names you bring in. A lot of recruits. You got a lot of young guys, but I mean Kyle Lodis. Peyton Green was a really good shortstop, but I honestly believe Kyle Lodis could be an upgrade. Kent Schmidt is a guy I left the fall scrimmage, just enamored with. I think he's going to have a big year. He can hit, but I didn't expect the power. And then, the pitching staff, you've got a lot of potential there. And then, of course, recruits, very, very, very highly touted recruits.
I think adding Caden Spivey almost cancels out losing Vinatieri. I really liked what he brought when he was at Notre Dame. I think that I got to see him a little bit in Kingsport 2 years ago. 2 years ago? I guess it was 2 years ago. But overall, I mean, and also, too, Sam Swigert's someone I got to watch a decent amount of from his Citadel days. He's someone that I think, with some extra work can be a really key piece to this team. And I think, again, you look at Georgia Tech, right? The 2025 Georgia Tech team will probably be decided the same way it's always been. We'll obviously get to the lineups here in a minute, right, Monty? But it's always been a question on the pitching. And I think they did a good job of adding to the depth of the pitching staff.
Yeah, and they do lose 2 of the 3 guys in the rotation in Cam Jones and Aiden Finateri, but I love the pitching options they have coming back. These are some of the guys they could, in the rotation. Obviously, you mentioned Caden Spivey has experience. He's not necessarily on this list, but, and Sam Swigert, I believe all of his starts for the Citadel last year were starts. So you've got some guys with potential here. But Tate McKee, for me, is the dude. There were a lot of times last year where I think I pointed it out to you where he had a tendency at a stretch to go really, really good in one start and then kind of get exposed a little bit in the next start and then back to being really good. He had some really good moments. I think the numbers are a little bit ballooned on him because of Virginia and Virginia Tech in particular were two teams that really got to him and blew up his ERA. But they, by the way, Georgia Tech won both those games in which his ERA was blown up. But I think he is about to take a massive step forward. I think he's going to be in the conversation for ACC Pitcher of the Year. I think he's going to make a Jamie Arnold-esque jump. I've said it over and over. So buy stock, Tate McKee. And then Carson Ballard and Riley Stanford are two guys that can make similar jumps. Maybe not as drastic, but I really, really like them.
Yeah, I like Mason Patel too. I mean, I really liked what you saw down the stretch from him. He did a good job in that Athens regional, kind of stepping up as well. So did Stanford, right? To kind of get some things done there. I think this is a group that, again, and talking about, again, I'm high on Caden Spivey, someone that could potentially sneak into that rotation if it all makes sense. I mean, Caden Campbell, again, we'll get to the bullpen, right? Just overall, I really like that there's options, I think, in this Georgia Tech pitching staff that, again, they could look at potentially an opener spot if things aren't necessarily working out where, Stanford goes a couple innings, Patel goes a couple innings, and then you go to a Spivey or a Swigert or go down the list of guys. So I do like that. And I don't know if I'm as all in on the Tate McKee for AC Pitcher of the Year, which is how many good pitchers we have in this conference, Monty, but I love it. I'll buy the stock. Give me the stock. I'll eat it up.
I did preface it within the conversation, so I am.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't like you're saying he is the AC Pitcher of the Year.
Yeah, because I think we'll talk in a couple of days about I guess tomorrow about a guy who I think both of us kind of conversation as well, but anyway, I don't want to overlook Porter Bursma here because, talking to Matt Taylor, they're really high on him as well. And he's an intriguing starting option. And apparently, if he's out of the bullpen, he can throw up to like 98, 99, which is pretty impressive. But I'll bring that bullpen marker up here. You mentioned Caden Campbell. I mean, he had a bad year at Louisville last year, but that was a Team USA guy. After his freshman year, which is not an easy thing to do unless you are one of the top freshmen in the country.
Yeah, I mean, it also just feels like a lot more depth than they had last year. And again, their freshman class, they ended up with what, the number 2 overall recruiting class?
From a couple of publications I saw them at number 2.
And a lot of that was because
one of them I think one of them even had number 1. I think LSU probably had the best.
They were in the 1 to 3 range in pretty much everything I saw. And a lot of that was because of you highlight 5 arms right there. It's because of the young arms they bring in, which, I mean, at the end of the day, right? Like, I think that's the exciting part about Georgia Tech right now is maybe the results aren't necessarily proven just yet, but there's a lot of positive momentum on just like what Ramsey and that staff, like from a recruiting standpoint, right, are doing to get guys excited to play at Georgia Tech. I mean, it's a program that obviously has history. I mean, this hat, unfortunately, by the way, it's a 2001 national champions hat for Georgia Tech. I don't even think they made it to Omaha that year. Shout out to whoever had this made, but found it in Omaha for what it's worth. But, this is a program, right, that's had a ton of success. And, it's good to see, like, the pitching staff, there's question marks, but it feels a lot more stable than 2024, which, I mean, let's just call it what it was the kryptonite of Georgia Tech last year.
Yeah, and it's been their kryptonite for a number of years. But actually what worked for them last year was when they started to turn the season around is when they settled that rotation, right? If they can get the roles figured out really quickly, it can make a big difference and really get them started on the right foot. But I was really impressed with the 2 freshman arms, Connor Ciccoli and Ryan Johnson, in the fall scrimmage I got to see. They were pumping the strike zone. Neither of them walked a guy. I think Connor Ciccoli actually threw 29 of 35 pitches for strikes. I think they each only gave up 1 run in 3 innings. I thought they looked really good. I think those guys one of them might get a chance at being the midweek guy, so they can make sure, they have the best, most experienced arms coming out of the bullpen. But I'm a big fan of some of these freshmen. Joshua Evans is a 2-way guy that could play center field. I'm just really excited about this Georgia Tech team. And the reason I ranked them, I think I had them at 22. And the reason I had them ranked at 22 is because I believe in this pitching staff. I believe in Tate McKee, Carson Ballard, and Riley Stanford, and the guys they brought in. And I believe in Matt Taylor. Year 2 under Matt Taylor, I think you're going to see, more guys exceeding expectations because of the second-year pitching staff.
Absolutely.
So, is there anyone else you wanted to talk about before we moved on here?
No, I think we're good.
Brady Jones, I just think I'm going to mention quickly because I think I kind of put him as maybe the bullpen ace. I'm not really sure who the bullpen ace is going to be. Caden Campbell and Caden Spivey and Sam Swigert are all guys that could be in that role. Brett Barfield is the guy coming back. Mason Patel could potentially be the bullpen ace, Porter Burzma. So I wanted to make sure we mentioned Brady Jones because I think I kind of just threw him out there in my projections, just kind of based on some of his stuff and how his fall looked. But there's no guarantee. Somebody's going to have to step up and fill that bullpen ace role for them beyond the rotation. And there it is. See, I put Brady Jones as the relief ace. That spot is definitely open for anybody's taking. But yeah, how do you feel about that potential pitching staff, Micah?
I like that. I mean, again, Riley Stanford, I think, has the potential to be a starter. Obviously, he did a great job in long relief last year. So I think it'll be good to see, again, what this ends up becoming. And like you said, I think the biggest question and probably the biggest goal, I think, for this team is to figure out those roles as soon as possible. Because like you said, in 2024, it was a hard time finding it. But once they kind of found out the roles, things kind of started to click a lot better.
Yeah, and I think Carson Ballard was the pitcher of the summer for me up in the Cape. He had 17.1 innings and pitched really, really well, had 17 strikeouts and just 4 walks. So that's got to be really encouraging. I mean, most of those were starts for him up in the Cape. So, that's really exciting stuff from him. And, don't let my hype of Tate McKee necessarily overlook Carson Ballard and Riley Stanford taking step forwards as well.
Absolutely.
Now we get to the fun part of Georgia Tech, always the fun part, right? All right, let's take a look at those catchers. Nathan, I hope I'm saying his name right, Wall is a Cornell transfer. I think he's going to be the DH. But Drew Rogers, that freshman, I think is going to force his way into the lineup. But Vaughn Lackey is the guy. Talk to me about some Vaughn Lackey there, Micah.
That was the best part of watching that Athens regional elimination game for Georgia Tech last night was Vaughn Lackey smoked one in that game. I can't wait for him. I mean, he is someone that just provides – he's very sound defensively, first off. But I think, obviously, what he provides offensively as well. I mean, he's one of the best young catchers in the country. I mean, he really is that special. I think obviously now that he can be in the lineup more consistently in 2025, that's going to be huge for him as well. I mean, he's wearing 25, which is a pretty famous number over there at Georgia Tech. So very, very excited for what Vaughn Lackey brings to the team in 25.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that he was in the lineup down the stretch so much is a testament to his defense because I know the bat didn't necessarily get to where it needed to be, but I think he's poised for a big year. I actually got to see him play some third base in the fall, by the way. He played the first 7 innings or so as the catcher, or I can't remember if it was a 7-inning or 9-inning first game, but then he spent the second half. He started at third base and to get a couple more at bats, but I thought that was kind of fun. But Drew Rogers is a guy who he could be athletic enough to get a chance in the outfield. He could DH. I mean, he's a really intriguing option, and I saw him smoke a home run in the fall. He's going to be really good. You got to feel really good about this Georgia Tech catching group. And then you got Kent Schmidt over there at first base. Kent Schmidt is interesting because I saw him in the fall. And I keep mentioning that a lot. I saw these guys in the fall. But I thought when Kent Schmidt,
when did you see Georgia Tech in the fall this year? I don't know if you did.
I did. But Kent Schmidt is a guy, when I saw him get up there, I thought he was like 6'3", He's 6'6", and he crushed two balls like I thought, like he was 6'4". But I went and looked up his stats at Georgia Southern because I'm like, man, this guy must have hit a ton of home runs last year. He hit 2, and then he hit 2 in this game. His swing, he's a lefty. His swing is perfect for that ballpark. He's going to hit a lot more than 2 home runs this season. But I mean, even though he didn't have a ton of power last year, he still hit 16 doubles. He hit 321. He walked 33 times. This is a kid who can hit, and it's not necessarily about the power numbers, but he is going to hit for some power. I think he's going to be a household star for Georgia Tech. I'm a big fan.
Yeah.
And then we get to talk about Appy League All-Star Carson Curse.
This infield might not have a lot of household names to people across the ACC, but everyone that's watching this is a very, very good infield. The Goose is back. Obviously, Kyle Lodise is one of the best transfers, probably the best D2 transfer up to the Division I.
I would think so.
And then obviously Carson Curse is someone that kind of had a pretty decent 24 spring, but had a fantastic summer. Still upset that he got robbed for an Appy League All-Star spot.
Oh, he didn't get. That's right. I remember we talked about it over the summer. I couldn't remember.
He got robbed. Yeah, and then
he had a very good summer.
And like he didn't get like hurt, if that makes sense, but like he was getting a little sore, and so from what I understand, they said, "Hey, come home. Like go take a little bit. Like don't push it." Especially again after he kind of got robbed of his All-Star game spot. Like, I mean, it is summer league ball for a reason. Like, yeah, you know, you want to compete, but also don't get hurt. But yeah, this is a very, very good infield. And I'll let you do your propaganda on old Kyle Lodise, because we all know, Monty, you have a little man crush on that young man.
It's all right. It's not propaganda. This kid is legit. I mean, this is what he did at D2 level. 369, 11 doubles, 2 triples, 14 home runs, 49 RBI. He had 24 stolen bases. He walked 16 more times than he struck out. This is the guy that you want leading off in front of Drew Burress. He's got a fantastic eye for the strike zone. Seeing him in the fall with Burress, they didn't have the best game, but how he was able to work the strike zone and work the at bat, I think he's got to be your leadoff guy to get on base in front of Drew Burress. And then John Giesler, I mean, what a guy to have back. James Ramsey, when I interviewed him, absolutely lit up about having Goose back in the system, especially when you've got such a young team. You need Goose to be there to help lead this team. And I think James Ramsey said it was like having another coach in the system on the field, because Giesler has been in the system for so long, and he can back up Schmidt at first base. So can Tyler Nisus, but he's going to be there's 2 really talented freshman hitters in Hernandez and Schaus behind him who are going to push for playing time as well. Again, this number 2 recruiting class, they've got a ton of talented freshmen.
I know some real talent also on this roster you haven't put up on the screen yet, Monty.
There it is. Basically the unanimous freshman of the year in center field in Drew Burress.
And the best player in college baseball.
There you go. I mean, 381, 15 doubles, 3 triples, 25 home runs, 67 RBIs, 8 stolen bases. He walked 58 times to only 37 strikeouts. National Freshman of the Year, ACC Freshman of the Year, first team All-American, Drew Burress.
The best player in college baseball.
There you go. The face of college baseball, the face of the ACC, I think, for sure. He's got a fellow sophomore that potentially could be joining him in the outfield in Tyler Nisus. He didn't play a ton as a freshman, but this is a kid who is big and does have a lot of power, and I think he's going to get a lot of playing time. He's probably the favorite for the left field job, but again, those talented and athletic freshmen who are not natural left fielders might get an opportunity to move there. Alex Hernandez, Connor Schaus, Drew Rogers, all capable. And then, of course, we have we're big fans of the guy in right field, aren't we?
Yeah, but I think that's the best part about what Georgia Tech's done, Monty, with this recruiting class is a guy like Parker Brocious is someone that's obviously talented, but still has another level to get to. Having these freshmen that are going to be hungry, that are talented enough to take a job from someone like a Parker Brocious, if he does not perform to the level he needs to, is going to only make this team better. Like, I really like the depth of this outfield because you have 3 hungry young guys. I mean, no disrespect to Josh Evans, right? I don't think you're going to take the job from Drew Burress, but like, the positions, the other two spots, I wouldn't say are completely locked if these freshmen, don't, perform at the level that they potentially are capable of. But again, you've got guys like Parker Brocious who, I mean, that's a very solid piece to have out there. And right. So yeah, this is a team that, I mean, again, I think I'm glad Monty, obviously, right. We're the leaders of the Georgia Tech propaganda. We were there last year pushing the train, but at the end of the day, I'm glad that College Baseball Central as a unit, not just you and me, believes in Georgia Tech. Because I ranked them at 25 and they ended up being higher, in the polls from our total team ranking. So clearly we're not the only ones seeing the level of talent that this program has this year.
Yeah, and if you're looking at the screen, there's 17 names up there, I believe, and 13 of them are freshmen or sophomores.
Yeah.
And it's a young team, but that's why I mentioned it's so important for the likes of John Giesler to be where he is. But this is a really exciting team. It's a young team, and I really cannot wait for Georgia Tech. I think they're going to be a blast. Regardless of what happens, we know they're going to hit. And we believe in the pitching staff, but even if the pitching staff doesn't work out, they're going to be fun to watch. I mean, they were fun to watch in 2023 when they didn't make the NCAA tournament. So we'll see. But I believe in the pitching staff. I believe in this lineup. I think they're going to be on the verge of, if they don't go to Omaha this year, I think they go to Omaha next year. There's no way, in my opinion, that they're not going to make it to Omaha while Drew Burress is on campus.
I love that take.
Yeah.
I mean, if it weren't for the fact, you know what? I'm gonna make a way too early prediction here, Monty. If Georgia Tech is in the top 25 in the last weekend of the regular season, I am gonna go to my local embroidery shop and have this embroidered to say 2025 national champions, and we're gonna be repping that thing. We're gonna manifest the buzz all the way to the title.
There you go. All right, let's take a look at this potential lineup there. You got Von Lackey, Kent Schmidt, Carson Kurse, John Giesler, Kyle Lodice, Tyler Neeses, Drew Burress, Parker Brocious, and Nathan Wall. How do you feel about that potential lineup, sir?
I fell for it, Monty. My brain potential lineup went like the batting order, and I'm like, you have Burress hitting 7th? And then I was like, wait a minute, this is in order of just catcher through. So
there's the potential batting order there on the right.
That makes more sense.
With you get a lot of, one of the things they stressed is having those lefties, and that's why I think Neeses might be up there batting as high as 5th. Mm-hmm. But yeah, if Von Lackey and Carson Kurse are going to take steps forward, this is a lethal lineup with Lackey and Kurse batting towards the bottom.
Monty, did Kyle Lodice steal a lot of bags in college? She's at
24
Augusta. Okay, I was just curious. I knew he had speed, but I was just kind of curious, with him being the one, if that's kind of Georgia Tech sometimes likes to move those runners over, right? If that's one of those he gets on, they move him over. Drew Burress RBI single, and it's 1-0 before you blink.
Yeah, it's he's got. I would expect double-digit steals at least.
Yeah, awesome. But
obviously, you do have to account for the better catcher play at the the ACC level, but I would still expect double digit.
Of course. I don't think. He could obviously accomplish 24 stolen bags, but at the same time,
right.
I think a 10 is not a bold take to put out there, Monty.
Right.
But no, this is I like where you put Kurse too. I like him turning over the lineup and that 9 spot. He's by no means like a top half ACC bat, but he's a quality bat, and I think that's important. He obviously provides some speed as well. I also like Von Lackey in the 8 because I think that was probably Von's biggest struggle last year. Is he has a lot of pop, but he also, does struggle a little bit with. If I remember correctly, he struck out a decent amount. He had 15 or 18 strikeouts, and his 36 games played. So not the most ideal numbers to have, but it'll be interesting. I like this lineup a lot. So. Yeah, and I think you may have. I even like the idea of like you said, Neeses at 5 because it kind of goes. No, it's obviously not purely righty lefty, but it kind of gives you that first 5. You've got 2 lefties in that spot, so where you can kind of,
Yeah, obviously on the bench they don't have much left either. You'd have to go with two of the lesser talent. I mean, they're still pretty highly touted freshmen, but not quite the same tier as the first three there. But Caleb Daniel and Joshua Evans are the only guys that could hit left-handed off the bench. You know, so again, they don't have that left-handed bat available on the bench necessarily, unless they want to go Caleb Daniel or Joshua Evans. But I'm just really enamored by the Lodis Burris combo at the top of the order. I mean, you Kent Schmidt could see a lot of times where he's getting up to bat with two guys on, because you don't want to make a mistake to Burris, and Lodis is so good at getting on base.
Yeah. And again, having Goose in the 4th spot, if he can get back to, earlier, especially the earlier part of the year of his offensive success, I mean, yeah, it's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Goose missed, something like 15 games last year and still hit 28 extra bases. I think he might be one of the most underrated players in the conference.
And I think what's beneficial, obviously, it was helpful. I'll give Jake a little shout out. Now I'm kind of glad we watched what we did last night. It kind of reminded me like my thought process when I was in Athens. Like one of the individuals that I was not like disappointed in, is like upset with, but like kind of felt bad for, was John Giesler, because he didn't really have the regional that we were kind of like. If Georgia Tech was going to win that regional, you needed John Giesler to have a much better performance than he had. So obviously him coming back, having a chance to again avenge that, right, and kind of hopefully have a better postseason this coming year. I think I'm very excited about what he brings, because we know he's capable of it. It's just, unfortunately, this past, Athens regional, it didn't necessarily come to fruition.
Yeah, but at least we got that Georgia Tech matchup that we were worried we might not get. They had to beat UNC Wilmington after they had lost to them to get back there. So quality stuff, right? Or wait, did they have to beat UNC Wilmington, or did they have to beat Army? No, they had to beat Army in the first game. They had to beat
Army, then UNC Wilmington,
yep.
And then play Georgia.
Yep.
And I got told to go F myself, so it was a great time.
Yeah. But then again, look at that bench. It's all freshmen, so just keep that in mind. They're a very young team. It's going to be a lot of fun, but there may be some growing pains.
This is one of those teams, but like you can keep the schedule up, Monty, because I was going to talk about kind of the schedule, but like this is a program where, again, I wish I was back in Tennessee for this purpose, right? Like the midweeks are going to be so much fun to watch for Georgia Tech because of how young they are. You're going to get to like that's. I mean, I don't want to speak for Coach Hall and his staff, but I'm going to assume that like this West Georgia midweek, or the Georgia State, Kennesaw State midweeks, you're going to see a lot more fruition in that lineup with some of these guys, coming off, like who had obviously listed as bench guys in their everyday lineup, getting more appearances, and again getting like Division I college at bats that obviously will be huge for them as a whole. I want to confirm, Monty, that is Marshall's logo, right? Not Limpsicum in that 4-game weekend.
That's what I was thinking. I think that's Marshall as well. Yeah. Let me double check on
Lipscomb has a similar bison, but normally they have an L with it. So like Georgia Tech social media. I'm about to text George right now. I know he's more video, but George, come on, man. What are we doing, buddy?
That is Marshall. I'm glad you pointed that out because I was not sure.
Yeah. I mean, again, this is a non-conference schedule. Let's just call it what it is. I mean, Old Dominion's a decent program, right? They've had some success in recent years. Marshall's a program that started to invest in baseball, so obviously they're slowly but surely raising their level. But I mean, minus the Georgia midweeks, and of course, that battle with Gardner-Webb in the midweek, again, a team we're high on in the Big South. I don't see a very brutal non-conference schedule, which obviously will be beneficial for hopefully stacking some wins and getting some confidence, getting some at-bats for these younger guys, obviously getting some reps as well on the mound for some of these younger arms because, obviously the ACC slate, I mean,
are you missing those the two midweeks that are squeezing the Georgia midweek?
Maybe.
Auburn?
I mean, I see Auburn once. I don't see them
Auburn twice. Auburn 8th.
Oh, there they are. Yeah, they're stacked. I mean, again, I'm more talking about like the weekends. Like we have some ACC teams, right? Like we got Virginia playing Oregon State and Oklahoma. We've got, Louisville getting Texas and Arizona and Oklahoma State. Like comparatively, lighter non-conference schedule. And I mean, even the conference schedule, again, like you're getting Pitt, you're getting Notre Dame, you're getting Virginia Tech, you're getting Cal. Those are 4 of the teams we're a little bit lower on. So, and the best part is that's what, 4 of your first 5 weekends, 4 of your 6, because Clemson's hidden there. But still, I mean, on the ACC play, I mean, they have a chance to stack some ACC wins early and be, going into those Miami series, the Virginia series, the Louisville Duke series is in some, really, really big spots. Also, May 9th, 10th, and 11th, Louisville, Kentucky sounds like a really good place to go, Monty. Just curious. May 9th, 10th, and 11th.
You've got it backwards again.
What is it?
There,
hey, where's there? First off, I don't see a key on this one. So
I just know because Virginia Tech is in Blacksburg, and that's how I knew.
Oh, you know how I should have known, because they wouldn't be going to Old Dominion and Marshall in back-to-back weekends. That'd be really wild.
Yeah.
But why would you?
Anyway, you can have fun in Louisville.
Atlanta's easier to get to from where I'm at, so in a way, like, Atlanta sounds like a good time too.
There you go. I am excited about this. If Georgia Tech is the team we believe they are, they should be at least 6-3 by the time they host Clemson. It's an absolutely great way for them to build some confidence in those first 3 series. But they've got to go on the road to Virginia Tech. They've got to go on the road to Notre Dame. And we know Notre Dame is not an easy place to play. It's going to be cold in that March series, I would imagine, in South Bend. And these are, like we said, these ACC teams any of them could make the NCAA tournament if things turn right. So, as easy as those Tech, Pitt, Notre Dame series might be, it'll be interesting to see. But if you're a Georgia Tech guy and you believe in them like we do, we hope they would win those series.
Absolutely.
All right, let's talk some more about our jackets. I guess let's. I mean, Micah, give me their ceiling. 2001 national champions. They're going to go back in time. 2025. There it is. That's your ceiling for this team.
That's their ceiling. I genuinely think they have the ability to do it if everything goes right. I mean, I think that's the. Like, if you're telling me, again, you're saying ceiling. Now, if you're saying what I'm thinking, I think Omaha seems like the realistic, like,
which makes them, automatically makes them a contender.
Correct. We've said that, right? If you're going to Omaha, I mean, in the last 5 years, maybe the only program that no one thought had a chance of winning the national title that's made it was Oral Roberts. And even then, like, they even made some noise there to where, I don't know about you, Monty, but you didn't go that year, but I know when I was there, I was like, this could happen. Like, we could legitimately see Oral Roberts. Like, I mean, they every game was competitive on their end. So, I think it's very plausible. I mean, I think at the end of the day, right? I mean, I don't want to say we want to talk about the floor, but I would do we dare? Because last year, right, getting to the NCAA tournament for Georgia Tech felt like a success.
Yes.
Is getting to the NCAA tournament this year? I mean, obviously it's still a successful season, but like, would you deem that as, like, if let's say they do exactly what they did last year, just get to the regional final and they lose, don't even force a game 3, none of that stuff. Like, would you say that's still a successful season, or would you say that's underperforming?
I'd argue it's a successful season, but based on what we're projecting, that would be a bit of a disappointment because we believe in this team. But I think
I think successful
everyone
supers. That's
but we're also higher on them. So from the national perspective, I think it would be a success. But for us, I don't think so. And for themselves, I don't think they necessarily see this.
Are you? I mean, I know this is crazy, but this is how the ACC is looking, right? Like how stacked the conference is. Do you lock Georgia Tech as an ACC tournament team?
I do. Yeah, I believe.
Yeah.
I mean,
again, we're talking about from the national standpoint, right? Like I can't speak for you because you and I have not talked about Virginia Tech, but like I'll speak for me. I saw Virginia Tech in the top 40. I think it was like PG or Baseball America, whoever extended their poll out a little bit. They had them in the top 40, and I'm not high on Virginia Tech this year. Like, that's a team that I have on the cusp of making the ACC tournament. So if they're right and I'm wrong, then there's a world where they're getting in over Georgia Tech. So I just didn't know if like you had any like doubts on Georgia Tech at least getting to Charlotte and again getting a chance to prove themselves there this year. I'm I think they're a lock. But
PG obviously believes the same thing about Virginia Tech that we believe about Georgia Tech. Because they have a similar kind of identity, right? They hit the crap out of the ball. They just need to have pitching. They do have a little bit more of an established frontline starter in Brett Renfro, but it's going to be interesting to see. But I don't know if they have the same depth.
They don't have James Ramsey in their
they don't have James Ramsey. They don't have Matt Taylor, but Kurt Elbin's pretty good at what he does as a hitting coach. But yeah,
Kurt Elbin hasn't sent me a care package, so.
I mean, as a Virginia Tech fan, I know how much you'd enjoy that.
That's true. Wear it everywhere.
But that's going to do it for us here. We'll be back tomorrow night with one of Micah's other favorite teams and a team I'm pretty high on myself, but the Louisville Cardinals.
Am I the opposite of Kendall Rogers, where I just love everyone's favorite?
Yeah, I love your favorite team. Yeah, I love that. That could be your new thing. Micah's your favorite team is
your
Micah's
favorite team is my favorite team. Where they win every game.
We'll be back with Louisville tomorrow, or the next time we do a podcast. The next show is Louisville. But until then.